Correction Commissioner Molina says that eliminating solitary confinement would create what he calls a state of anarchy at jails. He made those comments today on New York One after this week saw dueling rallies and a city council hearing over a proposed bill banning the practice, which opponents, though, say is inhumane and ineffective at making jails safer.
This bill, if it passed, would place our jails in a state of anarchy. And we've seen the outcome of bail reform in our city streets. This would replicate that in our city's jails, giving us little control to remove violent individuals after attacking another person in custody or a staff member.
According to Molina, the city doesn't use solitary confinement, but it uses a practice that he calls restrictive housing. And he says that the proposed legislation would restrict what his department can do with violent inmates, putting other inmates and correction officers, he says, at risk. The city is dishing out big bucks in a settlement with teachers who were fired for failing a state certification exam. Most of those teachers were black and Hispanic. A city ruled that the test was discriminatory, and they are now paying nearly $2 billion in back pay to all of those teachers who were impacted. Our education reporter, Jillian Jorgensen, spoke with one teacher who did not expect to ever see a cent from her settlement.
This was a Black History program. I made their bow ties, and I made it more festive. And those kids are grown now.
Ethel DeZoni has the memories of her teaching career meticulously organized, behind plastic in binder after binder. But the time she spent as a full-time teacher in city public schools takes up fewer pages than she would have liked.
Counted colors, PS 194. That's where I was terminated from.
DeZoni lost her job as a teacher at the Harlem Elementary School in the early 2000s because she failed a state certification exam used by the city. She went on to teach in private and charter schools, or in part-time positions assisting other teachers, or at after-school programs for less money with less stability.
I lost life, a precious commodity of my life teaching.
She wasn't alone. Black and Hispanic educators were disproportionately likely to fail the test. A group of them first sued over it in 1996. And in 2012, a judge ruled the exam was discriminatory. A special master began calculating what teachers like DeZoni would have earned if not for the test. The city ultimately stopped appealing those awards and began paying out last December. A law department spokesman said, "We believe the court rulings against the city were not grounded in law and unfairly held it liable for a test created and mandated by the state. However, we determined it was time to bring this decades-long case to a close and enter into an agreement for scheduled payouts." The class action suit now includes 4,700 teachers. According to the Wall Street Journal, more than $800 million has been awarded so far, and that will grow. The city has set aside $1.8 billion to pay all the teachers who have sued. DeZoni has begun receiving installments of a six-figure settlement, but it brings her little comfort.
The money doesn't mean anything at age 77. What am I going to do with money now? I have the things I need.
She wants something else. The opportunity to teach again without having to take another test.
They cheated. I didn't. So I don't think I should have to worry about, did I take a test? I need them to do the right things besides the monetary value. Give me my certification.
She's made that request in letters to the city. Despite not hearing back and the payout, she still plans to work at an after-school program.
I feel that I have something to offer, the truth.
And Jillian joins me now to talk about this. What an amazing woman. It seems like she would add so much value still being in a classroom.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, when you look at the fact that she has all of those, moments from her teaching career preserved and showed me so many pictures of her classroom, showed me assignments that students had completed. And, she says she feels she was robbed of her career, but that students were also robbed of an opportunity to have a teacher from their neighborhood, from the same cultural background as them. She lives right nearby the school where she was teaching in Harlem, and she really feels like she could have given a lot to those students.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like there's so much value in that alone that you described that you can't really quantify. What was on this test specifically that made it such a barrier for so many people to pass?
Yeah, it was called the Language Arts and Science test, and what they found during the trial was that it didn't really predict whether you'd be a good teacher. It didn't really measure what classroom teachers do every day in their job. In fact, the attorney for the plaintiffs told me the only thing it could really reliably predict was whether you were Black or Hispanic. That was the only real correlation that those teachers were failing this test at a disproportionate rate to their peers. And, that's what ultimately prompted a judge to rule that test discriminatory in 2012 after many years of a legal battle and throw it out.
Wow, what a story. I mean, I guess it must be some solace for her to know at least that she was ultimately vindicated, she and the other teachers.
Yeah, I think so.
Jillian, thank you. All right, taking a look outside right now, clouds are filling the skies. No rain yet. Temperatures will stay in the chilly low to mid-60s, and then the rain arrives overnight. Periods of rain expected to be heavy at times Saturday, some scattered showers on Sunday, and then it stays unsettled as the work week gets underway, and below normal temperatures all week long. And stay with us because just ahead, declines across the board for Facebook. Why stocks and platform users are plummeting. Also later, a drug addict given one last chance to prove to the court, his family, and himself that he has finally kicked his habit. That story is coming up on News All Day.
Off Topic on Politics, a weekly podcast that digs into the latest New York City political news and stories. Available now on the Spectrum News app.
We listen to what's happening on the streets of New York. That's what New York One is all about. And that's what makes us unique after 30 years. And I must say, I am proud to be part of that experience.
Moving forward starts with getting answers about where we are. What New Yorkers want to know, Inside City Hall is here to find out. And we do it every weeknight at 7 and 11 here on New York One, exclusively on Spectrum.
Have you or anyone you know served or lived at Camp Lejeune?